Hey everyone, Cone here. Today we are on a quest with Cone on the road, not to find space memorabilia, not to explore 80s Japanese cars. No. The quest we are on today is far more important, and that quest is chicken nuggets, specifically chicken strips. So yeah, it's getting late here on a Saturday afternoon. Getting late, but still relatively early in the day for me. Just got done, I should say fixing a Corvette, but in reality all I did was break it further, thanks to General Motors and their gratuitous use of fragile plastics in places it shouldn't be. So in my garage for the next week or so will be a C5 Corvette, because I have to take the entire bottom end of the car apart, the exhaust, the skid pan, the tunnel cover, all sorts of crazy stuff, in order to get to a shifter linkage that has broken. So yeah, it's getting later in the day now, but I had the desire, I had an urge to consume a quality chicken tender, and I know of this place up in town that I've never been to, and I want to try it out. And apparently what they specialize in is the chicken tender, and it's, well, crap, now I can't remember. It's PDQs, which is apparently just a fast food chain thing that is new to the area. So I'm going to go check it out, and it's a good hike. It's like a 30-mile drive, but it's a 30-mile drive down some pretty nice back roads along the river, along the St. Johns River, so at least it's not a terrible backdrop. Funny enough, this is the route I used to take when I was going to college, because when I started going to college, I was driving my first 240SX, which was a very used car. It had many hundreds of thousands of miles on it. It had very worn out parts everywhere, and the other route to get to school would have been on the highway, and my parents nor myself thought it would be a great idea to be taking it along those roads, so I took these back roads there all the time, and it was a 100-mile round trip 5 days a week. So I question if there's as many people out there that have put as many miles on 240s as I have. But yeah, I know these roads, and I know driving them every day, they didn't seem very interesting, but they are actually some pretty decent scenery roads. This is such a terrible area for scenery. Driving has to be an enjoyment of the car, because the roads aren't going to do it for you. So in May, we did the Dirt Rally finale. That was quite a good success. It was a lot of fun. We raised over $1,000 for Child's Play. I'm very happy with how much we raised. I'm incredibly impressed and amazed by the core group of people that took part and follow the series and follow me. Very awesome people. For not a huge participation was certainly lower than I expected. We raised way more than I expected. Of course, myself and Dux did the in real life co-driving, which I do hope you enjoyed. It was actually a lot of fun to record. I enjoyed that quite a bit more than I expected to. It went much smoother than I expected to, and it was super enjoyable. I really liked doing that. So hopefully it was a worthwhile reward to everybody who helped out. I was a little bummed at I guess it was poor timing on my part, in that Codemasters and the Dirt marketing team, who have been in the past very good about notable things that happen in the community, chose not to make note, or basically ignored all of our efforts there. I understand they are very much so head forward, head down towards pushing Dirt 4 and the release of that game. So yeah, just like I said, probably poorly timed on my part. I should have probably done that earlier, before Dirt 4 was getting ready to roll out. But I mean, despite that, I'm still very happy with how that whole event went. I'm hoping that everybody that competed is happy, and the prizes and everything like that went very smoothly. That was one of the things I was worried about. But no, there was no drama, no complaints, and it all went perfectly. So thanks to everybody who helped out and made that possible. Fork out some of that carbon. Charity stuff reminds me that Farlands or Bust has returned, which is great for me because that series, it grounds my week. Like, I don't know, man. It's been so long. It's been, more than 5 years of watching that. It's really important to, like, the way I plan out my week. I structure things on it, It's crazy that it has that much of an influence. But I know that's not just myself. I hear many other people say, my week just feels weird, not having FLOB, not being able to keep up with the journey and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very glad that is back. I'm happy that Kurt's comfortable enough to return to that. I know he's been going through a lot of personal challenges, and his success, I've said this before, almost means more to me than my own success as far as this whole crazy thing goes. So yeah, it's nice. It's encouraging, and it's good to have it back. Myself and Kurt were involved. Is that the right way to phrase that? I don't think that's the right way to phrase that. Kurt and I. Sure, I don't know. We were involved in a little bit of an interesting thing in the past month where we've been playing a little bit of a little game that you may have heard of called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's pretty indie and not a lot of people have heard of it. So, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there. You'll catch up, don't you worry. I think the game's going to be a hit, so you'll hear it eventually. But anyway, we've been playing it on and off on stream on occasion. Honestly, it's had a very interesting little history for the two of us. I became very heavily addicted to playing it, and not so much streaming or making videos, but just playing it myself, Slag, Ducks, friends, and all of them. We just enjoy playing that. It's kind of displaced Overwatch for us here recently, but yeah, just in playing a lot, and love to join Kurt when I can. Excuse me, sirs, riding in the back of a truck is illegal in the state. And you're doing it here? Oh, risky. What was I saying? But yeah, when I joined him for one of his streams and started playing alongside him, decided to try a passive run, which is something that he, I don't want to say designed or coined, but it's something that he uniquely decided to do inside of that game. And we ended up playing that round and winning, which was awesome. It was fun. It was hilarious. I had a blast with it. Everybody in Kurt's chat had a blast with it. And I kind of thought that was just going to be it. And wow, that was such a cool thing that happened. Well, it turns out that some gaming media sources picked up on it. And that's kind of the topic I want to cover here, is that Kotaku had an article about it on their website, written by one of their blog style writers, and it presented a very interesting development in modern media. That's something that I've noted for a long time, and I've never really thought about it, never really paid attention. It's never really affected me, I suppose. So they wrote this article about, the crazy thing that happened, and the details of it were just so haphazard. It's like it's almost, if you read the article, you would assume the person who wrote it had heard about this from a friend of a friend, and they didn't actually experience it themselves. And then they wrote an article based on that information and didn't dig any deeper into it. That's as far as they went. Oh, somebody just found themselves a barn find. 67 Camaro, all dirty and covered in soot. There was a little bit of hubbub about it because they did not even catch or mention my name or anything related to me as part of the article, which honestly didn't affect me very much. It was just one of those like, all right, well, fine then kind of things. I certainly didn't get upset about it or anything. It is what it is, and it's more important that Kurt got noted for it and got the attention for it. Whether that intention is good or bad, I'm not sure, but it got it. It's such a gross style of reporting or article writing or anything like that. It's just done so haphazardly. It wasn't terribly like clickbaity or anything like that. Like, it was deceiving. It was just, it would have taken 6 minutes tops to have done the proper research into this story, to have included all of the details that were part of it in a factual manner. And that level of effort is not deemed necessary anymore. Like, people seem to think that level of follow through on things is just ridiculous and not necessary in this kind of media. The blog style sites, the independent writers and stuff like that. I don't know that that's a very healthy thing. It certainly doesn't help the mainstream media's terrible habit of misrepresenting and misinforming people. And if it's starting at the bottom now, instead of it being like, you find the small sources, you find the independents to give you the true facts, and even they're not giving you any facts. Not that this isn't important. I'm not trying to relate this to like some huge important political event or anything like that. It's certainly not. But I see this in all forms of reporting, which I guess is the word I've been looking for, reporting. There's just so little emphasis on getting the actual story. It's more about making the headline and finding the things that are interesting, and not so much actually writing about them and finding the details and properly representing the story. And that's sad. And it's not as though this particular story is important in any way or needs to be covered in any factual manner. It's just the first time it's ever actually kind of been related to myself. As I cross the scariest bridge in all of North Florida. Boy, I used to really hate crossing this bridge because it had no walls. It just had a see-through metal guardrail type of deal. So it was just water. Now they at least put these walls in, but there's nowhere to go. Anything goes wrong, you're just stuck on this bridge. But yeah, overall, I just hope that this style of reporting is eventually seen as gross to everybody as it seems to me, and we can change as a culture. I know this internet age is still new. It's still developing. I'm just hoping we can use it for a bit more good instead of just trying to make money. That's all it's about right now. I was no literature major. I'm not a reporter. But I do feel like that's an important part of human culture, is our ability to write and report and tell stories. And I feel like that's just being lost a little bit in stuff like this. So that happened. It's moved on now. Nobody's paying any real attention to that any longer. We've moved on to other and more important topics, I'm sure. but it was certainly very interesting, and I'm still glad it happened. It was still really fun and awesome. Let's see, what else has kind of been going on in the general channel atmosphere. Kind of a little bit of a shift here as I am trying to push back to getting some more in real life content back up. Really pushing to get some Ko Nadra Motorsports garage content out. Got the Supra in the garage now. Replaced the 240. Well, let me not worry anyone. The 240 is certainly very much so around, and I appreciate everybody's support on that project. But personally, I need to recoup funds to get that project moving forward. As it stands right now, that account for helping that project move forward is depleted due to the stuff that we did over the first part of the year. But now we're going to be working on the Supra, which I think is going to be a lot of really great content that you guys should enjoy. I'm really trying to push and develop myself in the videography of such things and making that into a nice, interesting series as we have successfully dodged those cones on the side of the road. So yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. Of course, in that, however, I will be lacking a bit in time to work on the normal gaming videos and such, but it shouldn't affect me too terribly much at all. It shouldn't detract from anything on the channel. This is all new. I guess it's been a while since I've gone this way, because this is completely new and different to me. It's actually quite nice and quite pretty here. There's like a little river walk down there I might want to try and go to on the way back. Although it will probably be dark by then. But no, this looks really cool here. Let's see, also in channel development kind of stuff, there is the Twixer development. A couple months ago I decided to move from Twitch to Beam. Beam has now changed from Beam to Mixer, thanks to Microsoft's never-ending desire to rebrand things. Personally, the transition has gone all right. It's gone fine. I'm not personally finding a lot of advantage, and that was just kind of a curiosity thing, because as I've mentioned, I just don't have much there. I don't have the time to really dedicate to streaming to make that into something great. So it's all very experimental as it is. So yeah, it was just something I wanted to try and experiment, and I still am. However, now I'm experimenting even more, because I am currently streaming to Mixer and Twitch, which we have now named Twixer. And that's just how it's going to be for a little while here. I'm under no contract from either, but should either happen, I would probably then make the final call to be on one or the other. Personally, the Mixer community and stuff like that hasn't quite been as welcoming and warm as I may have hoped. I have a lot of friends, acquaintances and friends who work now for Mixer, and I certainly do appreciate them and their desires to make it into something great. Personally, I just don't know that a creator like myself is ever going to be relevant to either Twitch or Mixer or any streaming service. I'm just such a bad representation of what makes, a good streamer, a good personality for stuff like that I honestly don't know if I will ever feel like I actually fit into any of those groups. That may just be how it is. We may just have to be our own little independent entity and entities of entities. But the main thing for me right now is I want to make sure I'm making the awesome and dedicated viewers I have now as happy as I can. Like, I want their enjoyment level to be as high as possible. a lot of people that I've seen in the streams have not so much enjoyed Beam/Mixer due to mainly its extreme lack of features compared to Twitch. I must say I'm a little surprised at how slow they have been trying to catch up on their technology front. I expected a pretty rapid technology boost from them, especially with the Microsoft takeover. It may be still happening, it may be happening behind the scenes, but personally I've not seen a ton of development there. They recently rolled out the whole Mixer thing where you can have multiple streamers stream to the same stream, share a chat and all that stuff. It's a cool feature. I don't know if it's ever going to be relevant to me, but it is a cool feature. But there's still a lot of stuff missing. There's still a lot of features that Twitch certainly has that Mixer does not. And now for really some heavier topics. In May, the world lost Chris Cornell, who I would assume most of you know who that is. He was the lead singer of Soundgarden, Audioslave, many grunge projects over the years. Music is something that has always been very integral to my life. I absolutely just love listening to music, and that's something super important to me. And Chris, his music, somewhere in the kind of the adolescence age, I of course was a little bit on the young side to have really appreciated his music when it was brand new, when Soundgarden was new. But in my junior high school years, his music really certainly did click with me. It became something very important to me. There's a lot of bands, there's a lot of singers, there's a ton of musical styles. There's just something about the emotional connection between his music, very, very special to me, about his emotional involvement in his music. You aren't just listening to a song, you're listening to a part of him that even from a younger age, when I may not have appreciated it or understood it as much as I do now, it really just meant a lot to me. Even to the point that when I was in college, in a psychology class, I wrote a very extensive, I'm talking, one of those like 8-10 page papers about him, his life, and mostly his battles with depression and his anxieties and his just overall mental health. It was a psychology class, so that was the main theme of that, and I got to know a lot more about him in that, and it made his music just make so much more sense. Like the lyrics, I always heard them, I understood them, but maybe I didn't quite grasp where they came from. I kind of feel like growing up, and maybe it's just the area that I live in, maybe it's just the kind of backwoodsy nature of it. Mental health and things were very much so shunned. You weren't supposed to talk about them. You weren't supposed to have any kind of mental health issues. That was just stuff that crazy people had, and then it just wasn't acceptable to be, I don't want to say be different, but yeah, I kind of want to say to be different. Like it very much so seemed like there was a normal way to feel, and then there was the wrong ways to feel. And for me, his music, his personality, his way of presenting all of that, it helped bridge that divide for me. It helped me realize a little bit more about what it actually means to be human. But luckily he spent 20 or 30 years creating music, so there's no shortage. It's something that I will hold on to for the rest of my life. I'll probably listen to his music for just as long as I possibly can. It most certainly did bum me out to hear about it. and I was very upset with the way, and I knew as soon as I heard about it, I knew I would be upset with just the way that the media handles such an event. There's so much obsession on what happened. Why is he gone? Why is he no longer with us? I would much rather the world know why it's important that he's gone than all the little greasy details, gritty, gross details that people can find. That's the stuff people look for, and that I hate. I hate that that's the mentality that we have as a people. I wish we just appreciated who he was and what he gave us. I've thought a lot about what I want to say with that. I'm sure I'm not going to be happy with everything that I didn't say that I wanted to, but now I'm going to go try and cheer myself up with some chicken tenders. That's pretty good. That was some quality chicken tenders. And very, very nice, interesting sauces, too. It's the sauce that makes it, Oh, man. So, while consuming my chicken tenders, I was trying to put more concise thought into what we were talking about. I think the best way I can summarize his music and what it meant to me is that it's not always very easy being a person. You either... Whether you fight mental issues, physical issues, financial issues, no matter what it is that you're up against, there's always a way to make something great. And knowing the kind of personal battles that he went through, and knowing, obviously, it was so hard on him that eventually it was more than he could take. Through that, he created some of the most iconic music of at least my generation, if not all time. So I don't know. It's hard to summarize for sure. But for me, there's very few artists that make music that not only is amazing to listen to, he had an amazing voice, an amazing sound, but also just, it makes you feel human. It makes you realize what it is to be human and how difficult that may be. But yes, I will most certainly miss him, and I appreciate all that he gave us. So I guess we're on the Feels train now. We might as well just keep on it. It's been pretty well documented through a large amount of my vlogs and just any of the series that I open up in, is that I've had troubles and struggles with my job and the ramifications of being a retail slumlord. It's been a very trying couple of years, and just recently things have actually developed to make it definitely even more so trying. I have worked for a supervisor for a couple of years now who I very much so struggled to respect, and we just frankly don't see eye to eye. He just didn't make the amount of effort and work that I put into what I do seem worth it. Well, he has now moved to a new position that unfortunately puts him working the same schedule as me. He's no longer in charge of my job. He's not my supervisor anymore. But he's still a superior to me, and I still have to listen to him now every day that I work, not just on rare occasions. So that's fantastic. That's just great. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they decided to replace him with somebody who I have had a very poor working relationship with for quite some time. Somebody who I do not see eye to eye with. He's a very, very hate-filled person, and I simply, again, do not respect him. I still love what I do. If I could just do my job and have my tasks and manage myself, be my own boss, and not have to answer to somebody who will then just take credit for all the things I do while themselves doing nothing, I would be so happy. I've adapted to the night shift stuff. I've pushed, my whole life around that nocturnal schedule now. So I've made that work. Unfortunately, being there, going there, just stresses me out beyond belief. Not that it's a stupid retail job. It's not that serious. It's not that intense. But I'm just ridiculously and flawedly passionate about the job that I set out to do. What that has set up is that I'm very well received and I do a very good job, and people respect the job that I do. But as I've mentioned before, they're very clueless as to what it is that I do. They just know that I do well. So it's all a very hard situation. And rather than harp on that, I kind of want to talk a little bit more in depth. And I'm sorry if this footage is probably not going to be great. It's very dark out. It's very cloudy in this tint. Oh, dirt. There's the underlying factor of, why don't you just move on? There's retail jobs everywhere. Just find another job. What are you doing, Cone? Just find another job. I hear this all the time. So many people have told me to do that. Stop putting it on. Stop dragging your feet. If you're not happy, just move on. Unfortunately for me, it's not necessarily quite that cut and dry. Not only do I have a very, very specific now set of skills that are relevant to anybody, but also it's very difficult for me to find another job. The very first job interview that I had was at Pep Boys. I'm actually, honestly, a little glad that I didn't get that job. I have pretty severe anxiety in situations like interviews, and especially interviews, one-on-ones with people that I don't know. It's extremely bad, and that's something that I've actually kind of, as a person, hid from most everybody most of my life, because I already felt so weak as a person growing up. Like I had the physical ailments and the other stuff that was wrong with me. Is like, I don't want to seem even weaker to everybody, to let them know that I have a pretty severe anxiety issue and related to situations like that. And I think people have learned and picked up on that for sure. But it's certainly something I've always tried to downplay, and I've always tried to just kind of hide. But it has been as bad at times as interviewing at Pep Boys way back when. Not only did I really struggle through the interview and barely could get words out, I'm pretty sure I didn't get the job, because after this terrible interview, I proceeded to walk outside and hurl all over their parking lot, which I'm sure did not leave a great impression on them to want to hire me. And that's basically the feeling I get anytime I'm in a situation like that. I have had more interviews over the years. I have attempted to get jobs at other places over the years, and it has not. I've had a few callbacks. Like, I've actually had a few job offers for significant pay cuts that I just couldn't handle. But most of the jobs that I actually wanted, I've never gotten callbacks. And it's even gone as far to perhaps have ruined my college career too. I, in later years, switched over to wanting to be a graphics arts major, and I didn't know at the time that to become a graphics arts major, you had to interview for those positions. They only pick 50 of the 200 or so that apply every semester. I interviewed twice. The first time I basically just zoned out and basically with eyes wide open fainted in their interview room, and basically it's just like I shut off. Nothing was muttered, nothing emerged from my mouth. So surprisingly, they didn't pick me that time. The next time, I did a little better because I was more familiar with it, but they, again, did not pick me. And you only get 2 shots at it, is what I found out. So, if you were ever wondering why the college thing didn't go well and it ended abruptly and all that stuff, that's where that cookie crumbled. I could certainly take my degree, my associates somewhere else, and try to get the graphics arts degree elsewhere, and I did indeed start doing that. Made a little bit of headway at another college that didn't have an interview process like that, but that was one of those things that really, it made a very, very deep impact on me, and was very upsetting. And that it certainly applies to why it's not just so simple for me to go get another job, be happier somewhere else. It's a very serious thing for me. I have tried very vigorously to work on it, and I do believe I have gotten better. Working 10 years in retail has slowly shaped me into being better at that. The only reason I have the job I have now, I swear, is because I had pretty severe laryngitis for the interview that I had for the company I work at now, and the manager thought it was very, very gutsy and showed a lot of fortitude on my part that I even showed up for that interview. And he was a very nice guy, and I did feel fairly okay with that interview. But yeah, that's probably the only reason I ever got that job. So it's very difficult. It's something for me to overcome. It's something for me to work on. It's a personal struggle of mine, and I try. I am trying. I'm doing my best. It's just not. It's not necessarily so easy, and I don't want to seem rude or harsh to the people who just want to help. I very much so appreciate people that just want to help. They want to see me be happy, but there's a lot more to a person than might meet the eye on occasion. So although you might think your advice just seems so easy and so simple, and why does it take people so long to be convinced that what you're saying is true? Just know that everybody has their own personal struggles, and it might not be so easy, so simple for them. All right, where is the entrance to this place? It's right here. I want to go here. Can I go here? It looks like I can go here. Riverfront Park. Let's see. Yeah, probably just gonna sit here and finish out the recording. I know it'll be dark. Maybe we'll take a little walk out there and take a look at it. So along those lines, that same topic, there's another underlying issue of something that I've not always been terribly upfront about. Lately, I have been trying to be more upfront about things and just be more open of a person. And I do think it is helping. It is helping me feel better as a person. I recently did a first-time channel trailer, and one of the things I alluded to is the fact that I have a little bit of a strange voice, and that it may seem at times like it's just a little weird. It's almost as though it may seem at times like, I'm still 13. You'll notice it way more in collaborative stuff for sure. Not only because I'm more nervous, especially around people that I don't know. Just look at that stream I tried to do with Anasia and her friends during an Overwatch tournament. If you want to see me in full frozen anxiety mode, that was it. That was it for sure. And I felt terrible about that because I was so happy that they wanted to include me in that, and then I couldn't. I couldn't even get words in. I couldn't be me. So it ended up not being very good. It takes me a long time to get comfortable with people, and that phase is usually longer than I don't want to say people are willing to give you, but especially in the content creation sense, not everybody's gonna have time to sit around for 5 hours to get used to somebody to record videos with. That just doesn't work. It doesn't work out that way. But at the same time, I'm also very self-conscious over the fact that I suffer from a lot of voice issues. Either I will flat out lose my voice, it'll go raspy, it'll break like I'm 12 years old. It just doesn't have very much fullness. It doesn't have a very full sound. It's very, very flat kind of sound. And for most of my adult life, I didn't really know why. I thought it was just an attribute of my personality and my shyness, my anxiety issues. But a few years ago, I had an issue with my thyroid, where it had become very swollen. The glands under my neck had become very swollen, and thyroid issues are something that run in my family. So it was something that was certainly had to get looked into. It ended up being just a viral infection at that point that was causing that swelling. But interestingly, in that, I actually had to get my throat and area from esophagus up basically scoped, where he stuck a camera into my mouth and looked. I'm sorry, if anybody doesn't like medical stuff, this is the part where you want to cut off. So kind of just looking around to see where the swelling was, I happened to notice that my vocal cords and vocal folds have a lot of scar tissue in them. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "Are you a singer?" And I just looked at him like, "No, I am not a singer. Not a singer of any kind." And through more questions and stuff like that, we actually discovered that, or not discovered, but kind of worked out that it's probably due to the fact I have been an asthma sufferer for my entire life. Like that's something that from the day I was born till there was a 5-year period where I didn't have any issues, but lately, unfortunately, there has been that I have struggled with. In that, obviously, there's coughing, lots and lots of coughing, but there's also the medicines you use, which are typically airborne because you have to breathe in the medicines, steroids and such, to get into your lungs, to open up the airways so you can breathe again. Well, a lot of that stuff, it's been found out, has pretty big side effects. I had issues with like bone development when I was younger. That was most likely tied to the steroids and stuff that I was on when I was younger. And the inhalers and such, nebulizers, I was even on when I was younger. Unfortunately, it dries out the membranes of your vocal cords. There's a vocal fold that basically looks like a set of lips at the base, at the entrance of your vocal cords. Those were probably dried out, and then coughing and all that stuff caused them to get torn, and now they are scarred, and there's lots of scar tissue in there. That scar tissue is what now makes my voice the way that it is. The reason I lose my voice very easily, and the reason that it's hard for me to even say certain syllables, and you'll notice breaks more frequently on certain like transitions in words, is a huge one. That sound, it will break all the time. Which sucks because that's what shy people do. They say a lot. I was already making YouTube videos at the point that I found out that, and it's always been something kind of just on the back of my mind. He mentioned some things that I could do to help, vocal exercises and stuff like that, which I have done for years now. I do vocal exercises, which is very difficult and awkward, especially when somebody's like, "Hey, you want to record?" And I'll be like, "Oh no, I have woke up and I have not said a word today. This is bad." And it's awkward, living with other people because making strange making strange sounds is embarrassing. But I would say they have helped. Not only has that helped, but obviously I've found my voice a little bit as far as my commentary stuff goes too. I've found the ability to speak over the past few years, so that's certainly helped. And I don't feel as anxious, except during those times of group content that I love to do and I want to do more of, but yeah, it's a struggle. Well, as part of that, this year I changed insurance and had to find a new primary care doctor, which is super annoying that I have to do that pretty much every year now because of the way the insurance in this country is sucking so badly. And just during the routine kind of like physical stuff, I brought up that issue again. Got a whole nother person's area of expertise here, and maybe we'll get some different answers. And was suggested to see an ENT, ear, nose, throat doctor, to investigate it. And it basically boils down to, it is what it is. You, just like was suggested before, can do certain things to make it better. As far as, it's just like stretching a muscle. If you have a bad joint somewhere, if you have a bad muscle, tendon, whatever, stretching it out, getting it ready to use is the way to go there. Surgery is an option. It's a pretty invasive surgery that has a very, very, very low success rate because your vocal cords are very fragile things. When a singer blows out their vocal cords, it's very, very serious because surgery is not going to make it better instantly, for sure. You have to do so much rehab to rebuild the strength and all of that stuff that it's a very, very serious thing. And for me, unfortunately, it just doesn't look like that would ever be an option unless it just, for whatever reason, it got significantly worse, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't get significantly worse. But I'm not going to lie, it was pretty heartbreaking to find that basically there was no answer. There's no making it better. It is what it is, and that's what I said in my little trailer video. It is what it is. I deal with it. I'm not going to let it stop me. The internet can be a pretty cruel place at times, but people can also be pretty forgiving and pretty great too. So I guess I'm just gonna try and make it work. I'm gonna try and not let it define me, but I'm just gonna accept it as part of me. So yeah, pretty heavy topics. A lot of things have been weighing on my mind lately. It's been a hard month. It's been a hard year. But I'm working through it, and I'm glad to be able to say that I can work through it now. We got some very big and nerve-wracking things on the horizon here as far as this whole YouTube video maker thing goes. That could really potentially change things, make things better. It could be a matter of within the rest of this year, I may have to just cut, stop, try resetting, doing something else. I don't know. That's kind of mosquitoes. Oh, Florida. That's just kind of where everything stands right now. But this is going to be a part of it now for sure. Trying to be very open because I've never felt comfortable being particularly open in my life, and for whatever reason, I am just a little bit more comfortable being open talking to a GoPro. Even though I know there's people to watch this and people will see this and stuff like that. It's just nice to get stuff off the chest, All right, well, I am going to. It's getting pretty dark. I really hope this footage isn't just abysmal, but I think I'm gonna go for a little walk and see if there's some views here.